So, I Used to Be Funny is the story of Sam, a stand-up comedian who's struggling with PTSD, which is a weird spot for a stand-up comedian to be in. Sam lives in Toronto with a couple of roommates who are very sweet, very, very progressive, very, very normal, down-to-earth, also stand-up comedians. But more importantly, Sam is an au pair in her hours when she's not doing stand-up. I was going to say her off hours, but technically those are her on hours because that'd be her job. And as an au pair, Sam not long ago took up a new residency at the Renner home with Cameron, a father whose wife is in the hospital, and Brooke Renner, who is a young girl who's like, I think she's supposed to be 14. She's played by Olga Petsa in the film, who is not 14 for sure, but they say it at one point. So, and anyway, things don't go great with the wife in the hospital. Tragedy strikes, and it's not long after that kind of a series of tumbling events lead to some real fallout with the family. Brooke runs away from home, and it's not long after that Sam realizes that she has to decide, despite her condition and despite how she's feeling, and that she's not able to get up and perform like she used to because of this event that happens towards the end of the film. So I don't want to say what it is here, but it is particularly traumatic. Because of this, she has to decide whether or not she wants to go help look for Brooke and maybe track down this missing girl that may have gone missing in part due to events that Sam feels she was involved in. So it sounds complicated. It stars Rachel Sennot. And originally, I had thought this was going to be a follow-up to Shiva Baby, which was from writer-director Emma Seligman. But it's not. This is from writer-director Ally Pankiw. And I've not seen any of her films, though I have watched a couple episodes of her television. Notably, she directed a couple episodes of The Great over on Hulu, along with some other things. And I love that show. So going into this, I thought, okay, this looks like stand-up comedy. That's what Rachel Sennot does. You got a couple other stand-up comedians in the set. It's in Toronto. It's modern day. It'll be a good time. It is surprisingly heavy. And I guess I should have known that going in, but I'm excited to talk about it here. Andy, what did you think of I Used to Be Funny?
So I was a little bit blindsided by it as well because I love Rachel Sennot. She's been in lots of great stuff recently. She was in Bottoms that we reviewed last summer or whenever that was. She's an up and comer young Hollywood actress, and she's really funny, and she's kind of known for those roles. So I was like, oh, she's playing a comedian. She's going to deal with some personal stuff, so it's kind of a dramedy. It ends up being some pretty serious and heavy subject matter, but it is also very lighthearted. She lives at home with these other two friends who are also kind of stand-ups themselves, and so there's a lot of really clever and funny dialogue. The writing is really good. It's a complicated situation. Like Zach said, she is was a nanny to this very, really wealthy, well-to-do family. All we know is something's happened, and they're all estranged. And the girl that she used to babysit overseas has now gone missing for several days, and everyone's super worried. All we know is that Sam, in her condition, is kind of not functional right now. She doesn't really leave the house. She doesn't have any money. She's not really paying rent. She's also not doing comedy. She's not doing any stand-up. She's not writing jokes. Like, her friends are very concerned, and they're trying to kind of pull her out of this. We also discovered that she had a relationship of 3 years with her boyfriend, which also fell apart at some point. And what happened, the kind of fallout events are very slowly dropped over time, and so they lead into act 2 and 3, so I'm not going to get into the specifics, but like I said, it's dealing with pretty heavy subject matter and pretty severe PTSD from traumatic events, which I didn't really anticipate, but it is powerful stuff. I think overall it is a real well-made movie, but I think it's got some problems too.
Yeah, I think it reminded me a lot of this HBO show. I don't know if you've watched any, called Search Party. It came out in 2016, ran from 2016 to 2022. They did like 4 seasons. Stars Alia Shawkat, John Early, John Reynolds, Meredith Hagner, and it's a hyper millennial comedy, right? It's this group of New Yorkers, these 4 friends who are all super progressive and very on their phones all the time and always online. And somebody in their community goes missing, and they go looking for her over the course of the first season. That's functionally what Search Party's about. And so watching this, it's a bit of that similar vibe. This young girl goes missing. Sam and her 2 roommates are kind of like, is she okay? Did you talk to the police? Maybe we should go looking. And all the while, like, you have a biting script with like really funny on the nose comedy. Rachel, like, Sam, I should say, like, is a very funny individual, even though despite the title, like, she manages to get across over the course of the film that she's a good time. That being said, the structure of the film, I think, steps on it a little bit because it's this bit of flash forward, flashback kind of structure back and forth. And originally when we see Sam at the beginning of the film, she is in present day. Then we get a flashback to back when she first met the family, and then back to present day, and then back to when she first met Brooke, and then back to present day, and then back to when Brooke and her first went out for dinner, and then back to present day. And these jumps back and forth they're accented by color. I do want to say that the stuff in the past is a little bit bluer, a little bit darker. The stuff in the front's a little bit warmer. Actually, I take it back. Got it backwards. Stuff in the past is warmer and colder. Stuff in the present, when she has already suffered this trauma, is bluer and colder. But outside of that, like, it's that back and forth for a couple hours. And all I could think the whole time is, boy, this really feels like a boiling pot that's going to boil over into some awful thing I don't want to see, which is pretty much exactly what happens, because you're building towards the event, whatever happened to Sam to make her this way, to make her not funny, to hit the title of the film, I used to be funny. We have to find out what that is. And so the whole film, you're left kind of stewing with it. What could it be? And little clues pop up. Somebody will mention somebody's name, or she'll imply this kind of thing with this character. And then you actually get down to it, and dude, it's rough. It's rough. And it's rough for the right reasons. But boy, it's a tough watch. And I'm not sure the end of the film sticks the landing better emotionally than like that climactic low, like, of the movie, because the whole movie's building up to this thing happening, and then it actually happens, and it's like it's hard to come up for air after that. And I think by the time you hit credits, you're like, man, it was a lot heavier than I thought it was going to be. And that's not a slide on the film. It's a slide on my expectations. Because for such a funny script, I guess I'd hope for something better for Sam. I'd hope for a more ideal than what we actually get. It's rough.
Right. We've encountered her character kind of at rock bottom, like having endured some serious trauma and dealing with the fallout, which none of it is. I think I'm okay to say this. None of it is her fault. She's absolutely a victim in this situation. And it's still a struggle to kind of go on. I was going to say, I was confused by the back and forth. It does a lot of back and forth and does a lot of time jumps. And I was confused a lot of times. I was like, is this the present or is this the past? So I do think that could have been made a little bit more clear. I did want to say the performance by Rachel Sennot in this role is really impressive. She puts the whole movie on her back. She really does. She has some really heavy emotional scenes in the middle and kind of later. And she also does like the kind of dry, funny humor really good. But I was really impressed kind of as it went on. And it made me wish that this movie had a bigger budget, because it's definitely feels like it's on a shoestring kind of film school budget.
Yeah, and I think it was shoestring budget. And like I said, Ally Pankiw is like formerly from TV, and I think that's how a lot of it was shot. I kept thinking while I was watching it, it felt like it was shot like an episode of Law & Order or CSI. Like they were you stage your actors on your set, like you put an actor on the couch, you put an actor leaning against the counter or whatever, and then you just have like a handheld cam or two just kind of roam around and get coverage while they work their way through the scene, and then you put it together. It's a little bit more complicated than that, but not much, dude. And I think that's part of the reason like it doesn't look too different when we're jumping back and forth. I kept thinking like Sam needs a haircut, or Sam needs like something to visually distinct, like immediately tell you whether or not we're in the past or present. Like I said, the coloring in the film kind of does it, but like I was looking for that. I don't think people pick it up as subtly. Feels a little messy in the front, but overall not bad. I don't think, just not incredible. Like I said, I think it's small beginnings. As far as I can tell, it's Ally's first like feature film. I think she's got a lot of room to run, and I think Rachel does a great job in it. I got played by the title. I heard it was called I Used to Be Funny, and I thought, oh, Rachel Sennot's in it. It's going to be funny. It's about stand-up comedians, and like That's really just kind of a part of it. That's not really what this movie's about. What it's about is a bit more challenging. And I don't think that's a bad thing, but I think it's maybe a bit of a trigger warning for people going in who don't expect it or think it's just going to be like another Rachel Sennot comedy. It's quite heavier. She does a great job in it. Any other thoughts for recommendations, Andy?
Well, I wanted to talk about she is a comedian or trying to be one, and it's kind of what a big theme of the movie is that she uses humor as both like shield and weapon. Um, to mask what she's going through, but also kind of, she has a lot of really biting comedy about the struggles that women have in the modern world. But again, she's covering up pain, and she is, I think it's insinuated that she's going to therapy, she's on meds, like she's doing the things to get help, but it's still not always easy, even with all that.
Yeah, like even with supportive people in your life, like there's still it's not work that has to be done, but yeah, like quite a bit of personal development that has to come with that. And I do like that ultimately the film seems to have this message of like, you're not necessarily going to find redemption in like another victim story, you know what I mean? But like you might just find a little bit of like something you didn't have before, and maybe that'll be the thing to help you get through where you're at. And like I'm not sure that made any sense what I just said, but I don't know. Yeah, like I feel like it's not a bad time. I used to be funny. I just wasn't quite what I expected, and I think sometimes the best films are that way. Any other thoughts for recommendations?
Yeah, last thing is just it's a little bit too long. It is hour and 45 minutes, so it's approaching the 2 hour mark. Script needed to be tightened up a little bit. Could have been a tight 90. Pacing would have been a little bit better. Like I said, I think that this premise works really well, and I think it's an interesting script and premise. It just it needed more polish. Like it needed a bigger budget, needed a tighter script, and I think it could have been something really special.
Yeah, same. Andy, would you recommend I Used to Be Funny?
I would say save it for streaming. It's available to rent right now on VOD. There are actually some theatrical screens. I actually saw one at Texas Theater, funny enough. It like I said, it is really heavy subject matter. It is funny. It's a dramedy. Really good performance, central performance by Rachel Sennot. But it wasn't quite the movie that I thought it was going to be easier. But I'm glad that I took a chance on an up and coming filmmaker and a smaller film. They need a lot of support as well.
Yeah, likewise. I would save it for streaming, which is where it's available. I wouldn't be too stressed about going to see it in the theater. But yeah, if you've got a local one, maybe. I don't know. Hey, definitely support your local cinema if you can swing it, especially the small mom and pop ones. They need it. Like the historic Texas Theater, but more importantly, I Used to Be Funny is a good time. I think it's good first steps. I'm interested to see what Ally does next. Rachel Sennot is always fun. I can't say it's her funniest feature just because some of the subject matter is quite heavy, but I do think it's meaningful in the best way. And if you're a fan, you couldn't do worse. And that's I Used to Be Funny. Andy, what are we watching next week?
Next week is going to be a double theatrical weekend, which is always tough for us here on the show, but we'd love to bring it for you. We're going to be looking at Kinds of Kindness, the Yorgos Lanthimos follow-up from Poor Things, which is a 3 hour, I'm not real sure what, starring Emma Stone, a bunch of other cast, Jesse Plemons, Willem Dafoe. It's supposed to be a little bit like, been described somewhat like Pulp Fiction, like multiple stories. And we're also going to be taking a look at A Quiet Place Day One, which is, of course, the prequel film to the A Quiet Place series starring Lupita Nyong'o, which I've seen the trailer for 1,000 times, I feel like. So those are both in theaters this Friday, June 28th. And also, if you're interested, Horizon, An American Saga, Chapter 1, the longest title ever, Kevin Costner's Western epic, is also out this Friday. If you're interested in that, we will not be watching that from the show, but we will be keeping an eye on it, see how it does at the box office.
Like, no, I can't believe we don't get to watch Kevin Costner's 3 hour epic part 1. No, I'm fine with that. It's funny, like A Quiet Place Day One is notably supposed to be the scarier of these two features, but I am far more frightened of what I might see in Yorgos Lanthimos' Kinds of Kindness than what I'll see in A Quiet Place. The Quiet Place Day One looks tame to me. God knows what kind of horrors await in Kinds of Kindness.
Yeah,
dude,
horrors
no
beyond
idea.
our cinematic comprehension.
My God. It's incredible. I think it'll be a good week at the movies. I think they're both going to be fun. Quiet Place will at least be a good ride, right? Get some popcorn, hang out. Anyway, if you enjoyed the show today, if you like what we had to say about the bike riders, if you I got hot takes on our Used to Be Funny review, if you have hot takes on Nosferatu or Superman, David Cornsweat, you could have cold takes for all I care. Just a take. If you want to participate, if you want to get involved in what we're doing here on the show, best way to do that is to send us any kind of correspondence. You can send us an email at mail@offscriptfilmreview.com, the old-fashioned way. You can write whatever you like in there. We might even read it on the show. You can check out our website, offscriptfilmreview.com, where we've got reviews, news stuff, press interviews, all kinds of cool stuff going on the website. We're on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, all the usual social media places you can find us. Like, comment, subscribe there, follow if you're able. We're on YouTube. Big things going on YouTube. You got to come check us out over there. We're doing great. We're hitting subscriber goals. Growth is happening. You wouldn't even know it. Right under your very nose, things are happening on YouTube over on Offscript. You should come check us out over there. All the usual audio places, Spotify, Google Play, iHeart, Media, Amazon podcasts. Boy, I'm really running out of gas here on my outro. You can find us over there, and you may have been listening to us there right now. So if you are, we really appreciate it. Hit that sub button. If you've already subbed, leave us that rating review. And if you've already left us a rating review, pat yourself on the back. You deserve it. All right, take it easy. Take it easy today. You're a hard worker, and I appreciate it. We appreciate you. So from all of us at Offscript, the home of bold cinema, I'm Zach Lewis.
And I'm Dr. Draper.
Thanks for watching.